They called it the burn. Not in a poetic way, like burning curiosity or burning ambition, but literally burned, like a planet-sized circuit board thrown into the sun. 1 second, the universe was a humming, glowing, neatly networked grid of efficiency. The next, it was silent, dark, still, except Earth. The thing about humanity is we've always been a little different. Not better, certainly not cleaner, but different. When the rest of the galaxy moved on to solar collectors the size of moons and neural interfaces that turned thought into command, humans were still building combustion engines, turning bolts with greasy fingers and yelling over the sound of pistons instead of just transmitting thoughts. Crude, they called us. Primitive. Polluting. Ambassador Verilyn of the Arathi Alliance once laughed so hard during a United Systems Council meeting that he dropped his neural wand just looking at the schematics for an Earth tank. It burns dead plants to move, he had chortled. Where's the photonic drive? Where's the neural uplink? You people really are stuck in your Bronze Age. It was cute to them. Novel. The kind of thing you'd put in a museum next to antique stone axes and the preserved skull of a pre-uplifted Groll. Then came the pulse. A coronal mass ejection, 10 times the scale of anything ever recorded, burst from the center of the Messier 13 core. For reasons still unknown, it didn't just travel through space, it folded through quantum bandwidths, wiping out electronics like a divine EMP. Every solar cell, every quantum chip, every symbiotic neural link, it all went dark in a heartbeat. The stars didn't twinkle that night. They died. And Earth? Earth just coughed some smoke, turned a crank, and kept rolling. "Power grid's gone," said Captain Mira Holden, lighting a cigarette with a match. Not a laser lighter, not a voice-commanded emitter. A stick, with fire. She leaned against the hood of her Jeep, the kind with manual steering, analog gauges, and an engine that could run on literal moonshine in a pinch. Around her, the world buzzed, generators roaring, diesel engines growling, steam valves hissing like angry cats. Humanity's ugly, archaic, loud-as-hell machines were alive. The aliens didn't even have screwdrivers. Not physical ones. Everything was magnetic, suspended, operated by thought, which was great, until your thoughts couldn't reach your tools. "Status report," she called. Lieutenant Reyes jogged over, holding a clipboard. Paper. Trees may have died for it, but right now, paper was more high-tech than half the galaxy. Satellite comms are fried globally. We're running point-to-point on wired connections only. Radios spotty but usable. Our old nuke bunkers? Still shielded. Most of the military infrastructure is intact. And, he looked up, smirking, the coal plant's still running. They're rationing, but it's alive. Mira exhaled, smoke curling past her cracked lips. "Get me a landline to command. We've got friends who are probably screaming in the dark." And they were. On the moon base of Zeltir Prime, the once glistening towers of the Avrax Commonwealth had gone cold. Creatures that resembled spindly silver feathers shivered under the growing chill. With solar shields melted and atmospheric processors unresponsive, they had nothing. No heat, no food synthesis, not even a way to open their own doors. They had built a civilization that thought itself perfect. But perfection, it turns out, is brittle. In a darkened council chamber on Arc Theta Station, leaders from 112 species sat in terrified silence. The emergency lighting was dim. Someone had rigged up a power supply from a methane breather species portable digestion pod. Chancellor Droval tapped the side of his neck where his implant used to be. "This is a death sentence," he growled, voice gravelly with panic. "We've lost more than systems. We've lost control. We've lost our peacekeepers, our supply chains, our food production." "The humans are still online," said a voice. It was soft, thin. A young Arlani delegate, skin like translucent jelly, barely out of his first molting. All eyes turned. "Excuse me?" asked Chancellor Droval slowly. The Arlani gulped. "My uncle, he's stationed on Earth, sent me a courier drone before it all blacked out. The humans, they've still got vehicles moving, power, water, even lights. He said he was evacuated from the embassy in an ambulance, the kind with spinning wheels." A cold, humming silence fell across the chamber. "They still use combustion," whispered one, "and physical wiring. And fuel." Someone in the back let out a horrified gasp. "They're immune." Back on Earth, the news spread like wildfire. Not across the net, there was no net anymore, but by people. Humans are funny like that. We talk, we improvise, we adapt. And suddenly, the rest of the universe needed a favor. "You want what?" Mira blinked. The alien on the other end of the crank phone line coughed awkwardly. He sounded nasal, like a squid trying to speak through a sock. "We require assistance, rescue. You humans are uniquely capable of surviving under current circumstances. Because we burn dead plants and liquefied dinosaurs," she deadpanned. "Yes." Mira held the phone away and cackled for a full minute. Then she leaned back in, face serious again. "All right, you want help? We help. But you listen our way. No hovering, no smooth touch screens. You're gonna wear gloves, carry tools, maybe get oil on your hands. You're gonna walk, you're gonna push, you're gonna build things." The line was quiet. Then the alien replied, "What's oil?" Mira just smiled. "You'll learn." They laughed at us for clinging to machines that rumbled and clanked and broke down every third Tuesday. But when everything else stopped, we didn't. We kept going. On steam, on coal, on willpower and duct tape, on noise, smoke and grit. Because we're human, and resilience is our default setting. Somewhere over the Atlantic, a steel-plated aircraft with mechanical turbines roared through the clouds. Not a single microchip in its frame, just hydraulics, gears, and human guts. The old C-130 had been mothballed since 2083. Now it was a flagship. Inside, strapped to metal benches, sat a half-dozen alien envoys, once prideful diplomats of species who'd mocked Earth's primitive tech. Now they held onto the walls for dear life as the plane shook like a maraca in a thunderstorm. The one with 4 eyes and 6 knees gagged into a steel bucket. "Are all your flying machines this violent?" groaned Ambassador Shell, a gelatinous Zorani who'd requested a seatbelt and instead got wrapped in a ratchet strap. Across from him sat an old human woman in overalls, smiling kindly. "This one's not bad. Wait till you try the helicopters." The alien whimpered. Back at United Systems Command, relocated to a decommissioned missile silo in Nebraska, Captain Mira Holden slammed a wrench onto the steel table. Her team of mechanics-turned-diplomats were hard at work rebuilding what Earth now called the Manual Alliance. "Here's the deal," she said, addressing the trembling alien delegation huddled under oil lamps. "You get fuel, you get generators. Hell, we'll even give you rail cars. But in return, you give us your planetary layouts, your terrain charts, and access to every vault of galactic knowledge you've been hoarding for centuries." Ambassador Grox, a bulbous creature whose species had once colonized entire moons using self-replicating nanoswarms, cleared his throat. "You want all of our archives? Your archives are full of ideas that only work when the lights are on. Ours are full of solutions for when the lights are off. Now cough it up." Silence. Then Grox slowly extended a polished data crystal the size of a baseball. Mira held it up. "You got a reader for this?" Grox looked confused. Mira smirked. "Thought not. Jones, get the blowtorch. We're going to open this sucker up and see if it's got any moving parts." Meanwhile, the rest of the galaxy was beginning to realize how deep the crisis ran. Entire planetary ecosystems were collapsing. Solar reflector satellites had shut down, plunging temperate worlds into ice ages. Crops withered. Medical nanites froze mid-operation. Food synthesizers powered by stellar fusion cells sputtered and failed. In orbit around planet Lorith, a desperate transmission played on loop. "This is Medical Station Velen. We have 3,000 critical patients. All cryopods failed. If any vessel hears this, we need fire, real fire, matches, torches, anything." They needed warmth. The warmth humans had never stopped using. Fire, the thing the rest of the galaxy had evolved away from. On Earth, demand for humanity's outdated machines exploded overnight. Detroit's abandoned factories were restarted. Steam engines rolled out of museums and into frontline supply runs. Blacksmiths got job offers from orbit. Grandpa's old pickup truck, now worth more than a star cruiser. A new kind of status symbol emerged in the galaxy, a dirty, fuel-burning, mechanically reliable Earth engine, and behind every one of them, a human who knew how to fix it. But not everyone was thrilled. Back on Arc Theta Station, in the dim, emergency-lit chambers of the galactic elite, panic was beginning to mutate into something uglier: envy. "They've gained too much leverage," hissed Admiral Zalvex of the Jithra Dominion. "We laughed, and now they lead." "What are you suggesting?" Chancellor Droval asked, eyes narrowing. Zalvex leaned in. "Earth's machines are vulnerable, clunky, no backup. If we can disrupt their logistics, crash their fuel depots, assassinate their engineers, you'd start a war. Better that than serve under creatures who burn rocks for power." The room fell quiet, and for the first time since the Pulse, the galaxy contemplated its old sins. Back on Earth, Mira sat on the hood of a restored Ford F-150, drinking actual coffee brewed over an open flame. She was watching a group of aliens learning how to shovel coal into a boiler. They were sweating. One had passed out. It was satisfying. Reyes walked over with a clipboard. "Transmission from Jupiter's orbit. The Gaussian mining fleet just offered to pay 2 tons of platinum for a set of diesel excavators." Mira whistled. "We should have jacked up the price." He chuckled. "Also, someone from the Galactic Council is requesting a live audience with the human representative." Mira raised an eyebrow. "We don't have a human representative." "We do now. You." She blinked. "The hell I am." Reyes just shrugged. "Too late. They already printed your name on the paper badge." 2 days later, deep beneath Cheyenne Mountain, Mira stood in front of a hastily assembled diplomatic table built from a billiard board and a truck tarp. Around it sat representatives of over 50 species, every one of them covered in soot, coughing from coal dust and cradling hot mugs of tea heated by propane. Mira cleared her throat. "We're not here to gloat," she began. Someone snorted. "Could have fooled us." "We could gloat," she corrected. "We deserve to. You all laughed at us. You mocked our tech. Called us death-worlders because we didn't run our society on sunlight and crystals. Well, guess what? When the lights went out, the death world kept going." She let the words hang there. Then, "But we're not monsters. We're not here to punish. We're here to lead." An old Jalaran noble rasped. "And what would you have us do?" "Start over. Start dirty. Learn grease. Learn levers. Learn how to survive. And if you're lucky, maybe we'll teach you how to ride a motorcycle." Half the room didn't know what a motorcycle was, but they cheered anyway, because in the new dark age of the stars, Earth was fire, and everyone else just wanted a little warmth. 1,000 light-years from Earth, on a planet that used to shine with crystal spires and quantum bridges, lay the once thriving city of Xandros Prime. Now, its towers were frozen tombs, its citizens huddled in caves lit by dying glowworms. The only functioning machine on the planet? A human wind-up radio, crackling out instructions on how to build a wood-burning stove from scrap. And the voice behind that radio? Sergeant Mitch Dugan, U.S. Army retired, broadcasting from a log cabin in Montana with a microphone duct-taped to a ham radio set. "Welcome to Mechanical Minute with Mitch," he said cheerily, flipping a worn-out page in his survival manual. "Today we're going to show you how to make a basic piston engine from animal bones, rubber tubing, and hope. Let's get started." He'd become a galactic legend, not a scientist, not a soldier, just a man with a shed and a lifetime of bad luck that taught him every way a machine could break, and how to fix it with a coat hanger and pure rage. Back in Nebraska, Mira Holden wasn't smiling anymore. Reports were coming in: sabotaged fuel lines, stolen crankcases, assassinations of key mechanics in alien spaceports. Some factions weren't adjusting to Earth's new influence, they were resisting it. And then came the big one, a detonation on Mars. The Forge, a human-alien joint facility for mechanical retrofitting, was reduced to rubble. 25 human engineers, 65 alien apprentices, gone. Mira stared at the grainy footage on the projector. No advanced plasma charges, no digital signals, just Claymore mines, old school, human-made. "This wasn't just sabotage," she muttered. "This was a message." General Hawkins leaned against the concrete wall, arms crossed. "Someone wants the galaxy to think humans can't be trusted." "Well," Mira replied, "they're about to find out what we do when we stop trusting." The retaliation was immediate and purely mechanical. Earth launched Operation Iron Mule. Convoys of diesel-powered tanks rolled across alien planets, not to conquer, but to deliver. Generators, heaters, combustion engines, sewing machines, even mechanical typewriters. Any world still in chaos found humans pulling into their towns with smoke-chugging tractors and olive-drab supply crates. And with every delivery, a message. We remember Mars. The killers had tried to break trust, but instead they made Earth angry. And when Earth gets angry, it builds. Meanwhile, deep in the irradiated wastelands of Pindros 7, a group of alien children gathered around a human man in a leather apron, who was building a windmill from scrap ship panels. One of the kids, tall, with translucent skin, pointed to the fire burning under the forge. "Isn't that dangerous?" "Sure," the human said, tossing in more coal. "But being cold's dangerous too. Fire's only bad if you don't respect it." Another child asked, "Did you build this by yourself?" The man chuckled. "Son, we built entire civilizations with this tech." The kids looked at the fire differently after that. Like it wasn't just heat, it was history. The power vacuum in the galaxy had become literal. Without working electronics, whole species had lost memory storage. Cultures were vanishing as databanks corrupted. Artificial minds, once considered gods, had shut down mid-sentence, leaving orphaned societies with no guidance. And what replaced them? Books, printed on Earth-issue presses, hand-bound by human volunteers. Entire galactic languages were being preserved thanks to monks in Wisconsin. The universe was becoming analog again, and Earth was the library. But while some praised Earth as saviors, others plotted in the dark. On an unmarked moon orbiting Dravos 3, 5 species gathered in secrecy. "Earth's primitive power is dangerous," hissed a Tralaxian warlord. "They've become indispensable," snarled a Visari assassin. "They're winning hearts," said a hooded noble. "We must strike before they win minds." And so was born the Sparkless Pact, a coalition of former elites determined to restore the old electronic order, even if it meant war. Mira stood in the field behind the Nebraska base, watching a steam locomotive roll past. It was pulling 50 alien-designed freight cars, now converted to run on steel wheels and manual brakes. Reyes approached with a grim look. "They're calling it an act of war." She didn't respond. "They bombed our facility, Mira. We sent help. Now they want to fight?" She turned, eyes dark. "Then we remind them why humans stopped using nukes, not because we were afraid to use them, but because we're too good at it." Reyes nodded. "And the others?" "They're with us, the smart ones, the ones who felt the warmth when their heaters broke, the ones who lived because our backwards tech kept ticking." She smirked. "The rest? Let them freeze." In the galactic void, a human ship with zero electronics creaked along. It was built like a submarine and ran on pressure valves and winding gears. Inside, engineers pored over hand-drawn star maps and navigated with sextants and analog scopes. They called it the Ark, the galaxy's first truly post-electronic spacecraft. It ran on pressure, fire, and willpower. And it was beautiful. As tensions rose, a final summit was called, Neutral Ground, deep within the ruins of the Galactic Council's once holographic parliament. Now, it was lit by kerosene lamps and guarded by human cavalry on horseback. Mira entered the chamber. Representatives stared. She carried no datapad, just a wrench. "I don't need to say much," she said. "You know what we did, what we can do, but you don't know what we're willing to do." Silence. "Try to rebuild your digital empires. Cling to the sparks and ghosts of what failed. Or," she raised the wrench, "join us, one bolt at a time." The galaxy paused. Then the first vote was cast, and Earth, the world of ash and oil, fire and steel, was voted leader of the new mechanical accord, from Death World to Cornerstone. Because when the stars went dark, the humans lit a match. The transmission opened with static, then a voice, gravelly, low-tech, and unbothered by galactic etiquette. "Howdy. This is Chief Engineer Wilkes of the Earth Coalition ship Steam Rider. If y'all ain't dead from the blackout, we got spare belts, coal, and some leftover chili. Swing by." Across 6 sectors, that voice played on crank radios salvaged from shattered satellites. No blinking lights, no plasma arrays. Just a man in overalls, running a galaxy on grit and grease. Somewhere in the Grelix system, an alien leader watched the broadcast and shuddered. She turned to her advisors, her synthetic eyelids flickering. "How," she asked, voice full of disbelief, "do they thrive in collapse?" Her assistant, a younger scholar, hesitated before answering. Perhaps they were always built for it. Back on Earth, in a repurposed factory where Ford engines were once built, Mira stood on a catwalk overlooking rows of aliens in welding masks. They were learning to build combustion turbines by hand, some with claws, some with tentacles, all struggling, and yet there was laughter. One tiny insectoid cursed in its native clicks as it dropped a wrench. A gruff human mechanic chuckled, picked it up and said, "Welcome to the club, Sparky." It was the first time that insectoid species had ever heard the word welcome. Mira smiled. This wasn't just manufacturing, this was diplomacy. Far from Earth, a desperate envoy from the Sparkless Pact landed on the burned husk of an old observation moon. Its lights flickered sporadically, patched together with copper wires and solar leftovers. Inside, a meeting was held. Tensions were high. "The humans grow stronger," growled a hulking Rezard brute. "Their machines multiply," said a nervous diplomat. "Even our people are asking for their tools now." The leader of the Sparkless Pact stood. His cloak rustled with static. "If they want oil," he hissed, "we'll give them fire." Back in orbit above Dross 9, a major port city run by 3 non-human factions suddenly exploded into chaos. Every remaining electronic device surged with energy, then fried. Hospitals failed. Air purifiers caught fire. Transports crashed mid-air. The city went dark and screamed. And just as things collapsed, a single human truck rolled down from the hills. Its massive tires churned dirt. The engine snarled with defiance. On its roof, a mounted loudspeaker. "Set up tents, clear roads, gather injured. We're here to help." The aliens stared. Humanitarian aid had arrived, in a diesel convoy. Earth didn't just watch, it showed up. Mira's office was now an engine bay. Her desk was a steel workbench. Papers were held down with a monkey wrench. A V8 engine block sat next to her coffee mug. Reyes entered carrying a thick folder. "New report from Sector 4. Good or bad?" "Both," he said. "Half the outer species have ditched electronica entirely, switched to our stuff." "And the other half?" Reyes hesitated. "They say we're contaminating galactic purity." She snorted. "What purity?" "The whole galaxy went stupid the moment the lights went out." She wiped grease off her hands. "Fine, let's contaminate harder." Aboard Steam Rider, the flagship of the Earth mechanical fleet, Chief Wilkes oversaw a new kind of starship. No AIs, no cybernetics, just pistons, gears, valves, and muscle. Every corridor echoed with the sounds of clanks, hisses, and someone yelling, "Hold that lever, you idiot!" It wasn't elegant, but it worked. They used gravity slings, mechanical boosters, even chemical fire mix retro thrusters. No system could be hacked, no system could be shorted. And when one diplomat asked Wilkes what powered their security system, he grinned and said, 2 Dobermans and a padlock. The galaxy didn't laugh this time. The Sparkless Pact launched their final move. They deployed what remained of their elite force, a group trained to disable human convoys, burn fossil depots, and crush mechanical hubs. It worked on 5 planets, but not on the 6th, because on Daren's moon, Earth had built a trap. They left a steam engine in the open, smoking, vulnerable. The attackers approached, then the side panels fell open. It wasn't a train, it was a mobile artillery cannon, and when it fired, the ground itself shattered into molten shards. The last thing the invaders heard? A human soldier yelling, "Next time, read the damn blueprints!" Council emergency chambers were called into session again. This time, the room had no lights, just oil lamps and one roaring fireplace, stoked by a human diplomat in a flannel shirt. Mira stood before the council. "We didn't cause the blackout, but we survived it." Murmurs. "We didn't ask for your loyalty, but we earned your trust." Quiet. "You call us Deathworlders, but you forgot. Deathworlders don't die easy." She dropped a coal into the fire. "They adapt, they rebuild, and if pushed..." The fire crackled louder. They remember. In a quiet sector of the galaxy, an old alien historian walked through the ruins of a once great archive. Every digital file had vanished, and yet, among the rubble, he found a human-made press. Next to it, a book, printed on thick paper. Title, How to Start Over, the Human Way. He opened it. It smelled like ink and sawdust, and he wept, because it wasn't just a book, it was a blueprint for survival, and it was human. In the smouldering remains of Sector 9's central council hub, the once pristine marble halls were layered in ash. What had once been a monument to galactic progress now echoed with the clinks and clatters of hammers, wrenches and steel shoes on scorched floors. At the heart of it all, humans were rebuilding it. By hand. No drones, no nanotech. Just sweat, sparks and metal grit. A towering Rulaxian watched from afar, arms folded, breathing slow. His planet had fallen dark weeks ago, their fleet grounded, their AI libraries burned from the inside out. And yet here, Earth's engineers were erecting steel frame supports with little more than winches, pulleys and rope. "Why do they persist?" the Rulaxian muttered. Mira, standing beside him, dirt on her cheeks and sleeves rolled, didn't look up as she replied, "Because we were never built to stop." Across the galaxy, a new term spread. They didn't call it technology anymore. They called it Earth Tech, and it was in high demand. Shipyards that had once mocked Earth's piston engines were now filled with alien laborers learning to weld boilerplates. Entire races who once prized silicon circuits now prized steel springs. And in the black markets, the most sought-after relic? An honest-to-God screwdriver. Back in Earth's Pacific Assembly Yard, Reyes walked into the newly formed Council of Practical Systems, made up of surviving species now bound to Earth's fossil resilience. He dropped a blueprint on the table. "This," he said, "is the future of interstellar propulsion." It was ugly. It was mechanical. It used pressurized fossil gas chambers and magnetic pulse detonation tubes. A Nuvi delegate squinted. "But, where's the central processor?" Reyes grinned. "You're looking at it." He pointed to his forehead. "Grey matter, no updates needed." They called it the endless winter, the months after the surge when the galaxy froze, its high towers falling quiet. Earth called it something else. Camping season. Back on the human colony of Ridgepoint 7, bonfires dotted the landscape. Aliens from all species huddled around, roasting meat on sticks, listening to old diesel generators hum in the distance. A young alien girl, once born in a floating city of light, tugged on Mira's sleeve. "Why do your people always smile when things go dark?" Mira looked into the flames. "Because that's when the stars come out." The sparkless pact collapsed, not with a scream, but a sputter. Their final command ship, once a marvel of solar elegance, sat silent in orbit, powerless, stranded, forgotten. Inside, a single distress call looped endlessly. Requesting assistance, oxygen critical. No one responded, except a single human ship, a tugboat retrofitted from an old mining hauler, belching black smoke and steam. Wilkes stood at the helm. He patched into their frequency. "Y'all need a tow?" The alien captain stared, stunned. Why would you help us?" Wilkes shrugged. "Because we ain't like y'all. We fix things, even broken folks." And with a mighty groan, the mechanical cables latched on. The Pact's last ship survived, because a human refused to let it die. At the United Archives Summit, the Council reassembled. This time, there were no glowing thrones or floating tablets, just chairs, hand-carved, uneven, and instead of AI screens, there were paper folders and charcoal diagrams. Mira stepped forward. She opened a crate and pulled out a thick metal object. It thunked onto the council table. "A wrench," she said. "Simple, effective, never crashes, never overheats, never betrays you." She paused. "Earth is offering this to every surviving species, not as tech, as trust." The room was silent. Then the Aranu Chancellor leaned forward, took the wrench, and nodded. The age of convenience died. Let the age of resilience begin. In a quiet crater on Mars, a statue was erected. It wasn't made of holograms or light-weaving alloys. It was solid bronze, heavy, imperfect. the statue, a human holding an oil-stained rag in one hand, a blueprint in the other. Behind them, 4 aliens, each holding tools, looked forward toward the horizon. On the base, the words were simple. When the galaxy fell quiet, Earth remembered how to make noise. The final declaration came not from a warlord, but from a child. She was born on the rebuilt station Orbitwell, raised by humans and Zarn engineers. At a joint graduation ceremony of the first Mechanical Engineering Academy, co-founded by aliens and humans, she stood trembling behind a podium made of wood, not glass. "Everyone said Earth was outdated," she began, voice shaking. "They said their future didn't need gears or steam." She looked up. But when the lights went out, Earth lit the fire again. Applause thundered through the hall. No one called humans primitive anymore. Now they called them essential.